PedalsAndEffects.com, Nick Reinhart, Tera Melos, Juan, Pedals and Effects. And so, Nick, I was going to ask you, so I noticed that as I'm watching you do this, because I haven't actually been able to see you guys live yet, so I'm getting that, like, a lot of times you have these pedals in areas or locations based on how you use them in the sounds that you get. Are there any chains that you actually have to have in a certain order to get a particular sound, or is it all just for convenience of your foot so you can nail it on at one time?
So it's a little bit of everything. I have this probably to 85% the way I would want it if I could have my druthers and have all the correct length cables and everything. But, you know, for practical purposes, sometimes things, you know, either don't fit a certain way and I don't have the right length cable to go. For instance, I would like, before I rebuilt this, I had the whammy coming after this Boss synth pedal because this thing is so funky and responds in a lot of unpredictable ways that when I would bump it up an octave coming after it, I just got a lot of sound, a lot of different sounds. Whereas now that I have the whammy pedal coming before it, or is that what's happening here?
Yeah,
I don't know. I guess
right.
I guess so. Let's see. Right. So when I had that reverse, I could get a lot. I had a lot more control over that particular kind of. But so now let's see. I think I've got it. Right. So now it's kind of like I have, you know, I have another option. I really like having, you know, something after that to kind of brighten it up a little bit. These two guys, like I said, the
Kind of like detunes it almost.
yeah, yeah,
You could go up too, right?
yeah, yeah. Or you could go up and you could change the speed of this. So yeah, there's a lot to do with that thing.
Awesome.
With this bit commander, I love giving it kind of an edge with this super overdrive. So, you know, sometimes obviously you can exchange, you know, this for there and flip them, and you're not going to get too different of a sound. But that's where the art comes into it, of sitting in your bedroom or your space or whatever, and really going through and changing things around and seeing how it affects where you want to go with it. So having this bit commander and then just having the super overdrive after it. Sound over here. So I always like to have a modulation at the end of all this stuff so I can send the weird sound into the delay modulation versus sending the delayed modulation into the stuff.
Right.
Because then it's the signal weakens and everything. So when you have kind of like a fun sound on this side, a lot of times I like to have my delays coming after the fun sound. So like. So that, let me see. What else?
You know what? Let me slow you down. Like that is just right there. That is just so much musicality coming out of it. Like that wood sound that you have, like that hollow bass sound, and just being able to know how to treat it. Like that shows that you've taken a lot of time understanding what you have at your feet. And being able to, like, when you hear it, because when I hear that sound, I go, oh, I know what I would do with that. And it's just because of an experience of knowing what you have in your catalog or your arsenal, so to speak, you know. And I can tell, like, you have that, like, you know how you're going to want to treat that particular sound.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
I mean,
awesome.
I like to really get into the pedal and figure out what you can do with it, what you can't do with it,
Right.
and if there is something you can't do with it, well, how do I work around that? Or if I'm looking to
Right.
get something out of it, what can I add on top of it coming before or after
Right.
it to maybe get something more along the lines of what you're looking for? You
So
know,
let me. I was going to ask you one question on,
Sure.
on so like in all these pedals, you know, that you're running or whatever, and you know, we were talking earlier about getting noise and stuff, but it's not really like. Would you ever compromise like a signal to get a particular sound? Because people always ask me that, like, you know, are your pedals true bypass? And I'm like, I don't, you know, like I have so much gain going through my stuff. It's I'm not going for pure instrument sound. So I wonder if you have that same kind of approach, or if you don't subscribe to that.
I feel like live, that whole, you know, philosophy of pure tone and all this, that's getting lost no matter what, depending on the room or who's doing sound or what amp you're running out of or what cable you're using. It doesn't matter, and the people watching, that they're not listening for your tone, or at least in our band.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Thank you.
And so that's not
Right.
important to me, like true bypass, this or that. I mean, this is pretty quiet right now, and I've done a lot of A-Bing between, like, you know, both pedal boards versus no pedal boards direct into the amp, and it's like, it's not enough to bum me out. You
Right.
know what I mean? And I don't think, like, none of that, that's just kind of like being silly when you get to that point.
I think people would rather see an inspired musician than a person who's giving them their pure tone that's probably getting filtered through the PA weird, and it's not really a pure tone anyway. I always try to articulate this to these people, like, you know, you're not in control of the room. They're hearing what they had to, you know, how many hours of sleep they had, whatever it is. Like, like they want to see inspiration. They want to be inspired as well. So you just have to give whatever it is that fires you up as a musician and an artist. You got to throw that out there. And I believe, like, if it is your pure tone, then don't use pedals. But to me, it's like these things have to inspire you in order to get them off, and
Right.
so then they'll react to a great live show. For
Absolutely,
sure.
yeah. And I'm so much more concerned with that being, you know, like a true, honest musical response to what's happening than like, oh, my tone, man, I'm losing a little bit of tone, it's getting sucked out or whatever. Like,
Right.
dude, come on, whatever. You know what I mean?
So why don't you go through, like you were saying, give us a little sound creation from
Let's see.
from your pedal boards. Right here.
That was kind of cool.
Awesome. Thank you, Nick, for coming through PedalsAndEffects.com.
Thank you.
Nick Reinhart and Tera Melos on tour right now, next month, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so there you go. See Tera Melos live for sure, and you get to see this up close and live.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.